I want to talk about SDR, HDR, the plasma TV, the OLED. What wins? What is that I prefer, and what is that I wish exists? So for SDR, I was let down by the brightness of the OLED. I was expecting the SDR to be a lot brighter, actually. On my perception, the plasma on SDR is brighter, and I've showed that in some videos. It looks brighter than the OLED, and that's just mind-blowing because what I knew about the plasma was, oh, the plasma is super dim, like it's extremely dim. It just looks amazing because it's a self-emissive technology. So the SDR on the OLED, it is disappointing. The brightness is disappointing, but because it does have great blacks, it looks good. But I always play on a dark room because I care about the best picture quality. But what I was thinking about is definitely a plasma with HDR is possible. 100%. I don't have any doubt that that's possible. HDR has to do with the processor. It's a technology. It's the processor that the TV has decides, okay, let's give more or less luminance, and what it does, it is going to decide, what part of the image needs more energy, and is going to distribute that brightness better, so it looks more realistic. So I love HDR. Actually, I am surprised to realize that. I mean, please, I am very pleased. When I realized that HDR it is not about burning my eyes. I thought, oh, HDR is just super bright and it's going to be something that I can only use for a moment and then I have to stop playing because it's just gonna be too much. And it's all the opposite actually. I have the OLED pixel brightness to 100%, 100% in Windows, and I'm in a dark room, and it looks amazingly dark with detail. So the plasma can give me this experience. It can, yes, it can give me this experience, but it's not as low brightness. So it's gonna be brighter because it's SDR. So can the plasma give me the low luminance detail? I think it can. It just needs that processor, the technology, the processor to tell, what to do. So, but the peak brightness that the OLED can do on very small windows, this OLED is like 700 nits or a little bit beyond that. So I don't think the plasma can do that. But so that's what you need for HDR. You need to be able to give, specular highlight details, and specular highlight details are not the entire screen of white. So you have light sources for that. So the OLED does that very, very well. Very, very well. And I actually like the HDR a lot. You're gonna see that here, for example. I'm sure it's gonna be a lot brighter once they open that. It's gonna be a lot brighter. Or maybe not. Maybe you won't. So yeah, I love it. For example, this image here is very low in brightness. So you have to get used to it at the beginning. And it's HGIG. The HDR, I have that set up on HGIG. If you set up HDR tone mapping, that's not HDR in my opinion. That's just raises the brightness and it's not HDR anymore. But here, this is very bright, super bright. But you don't have that brightness on the entire screen. You have that only on the places that are necessary. So Let me get some arrows here. I don't know where to. Yeah, and like still the motion resolution is disappointing. Okay, and the game just was messed up for the camera angle. So the motion resolution is disappointing. I'm getting like 90 frames here, and it is not good. I move the camera and it looks blurry. That's disappointing. Yeah, I don't remember how to play this game. I need arrows. Hold RT to craft the arrows. Okay. So yeah. I like HDR a lot. I thought it was gonna be. So what I thought about this OLED TV at the beginning was, okay, this is gonna be super bright. On HDR, I'm not going to like it, and on SDR, it's gonna be a lot brighter than the plasma, and it was all the opposite. So if you get an OLED thinking, if you're coming from a plasma and you get an OLED thinking that you're gonna get a much brighter overall image, I don't think you will. You're not going to feel a lot brighter image. I mean, you can get a different OLED TV, it might be different. You can get a mastering monitor or something like that. It can give you 100 nits. 1,000 nits full screen. That's like $30,000. But at least a consumer OLED, I don't think it's gonna be a lot brighter than the plasma. So yeah, I love this this 4K goodness. It does look very sharp, and the color saturation on this game it feels very, very good on the OLED. It feels right. So see, for example, this part here, I'm looking at the recording. The recording looks a lot brighter than what I'm looking at in front of me. The recording looks like SDR. Well, it's actually SDR. But I'm looking at very, very low luminance, and I like that a lot. I enjoy that a lot, but because then you see the sun and you see any specular highlight detail and it pops. That's what HDR is all about. So, don't use dynamic tone mapping. It's going to raise the image. For example, let me show you. Well, let's look at this part. This is amazing. This is what HDR is all about. You see that center bright source, and you see darkness. That's HDR. And this OLED TV can give you, 600-700 nits on a very small window, and it looks amazing. That looks very, very, very good. But the plasma can give you very, very close, actually near black. The plasma is even better. The plasma I have is not a top of the line plasma. It's a mediocre, cheap plasma for its time. I would love to have a CT60, I think it is, a Panasonic VT60 or a Pioneer Kuro. Those are the best. I'm actually hunting for one of those. I would love to have those. But this game, for example, there's no camera movement. Almost, it's just displaying 4K HDR goodness. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You want to experience this game on the OLED. No question about that. This is not a game that you're gonna be moving a lot. So yeah, but if you want to use black frame insertion, which I want to use black frame insertion every single game, you cannot use that on HDR. Because in this game, for example, it's going to crush blacks no matter what. I was not able to use black frame insertion on this game, not even using dynamic tone mapping. So if you use dynamic tone mapping, for example, and by the way, I'm getting 120 frames here at 4K with DLSS. Sometimes it goes down to 80, but it is very, very nice. So see, 100%. So if you use HDR tone mapping on, boom, it's like, oh, it looks better. No, it doesn't. It doesn't look better. Sometimes it does a very good job. Like here, it's only raising the brightness of the center of the image. But overall, it raises the brightness sometimes too much on the dark area. It just compresses the dynamic range. So HGIG all day long. Unless I'm gonna do black frame insertion, then I do have to use dynamic tone mapping, but that's not HDR anymore because I lose the specular highlight detail and I lose the near black detail. So yeah. So ultimately, what I would love to have is a 4K HDR plasma TV. Is that possible? I am sure it is possible. And actually, there is a 4K plasma TV. It was made and it cost £600,000, like more than $500,000. And it was over 100. It was 119 inch, I think it was. They made less than 10 of them, I think. It's too expensive to manufacture, but it is possible. I am sure HDR, 4K, and maybe more than 60 frames should be possible. More than 60 hertz should be possible on a plasma. So yeah, this shot right here, amazing. You have the fire super bright, and you have total darkness. That's HDR, and it looks amazing, absolutely amazing. But yeah, the plasma on SDR, better colors, more bright, it's brighter, and it looks better in movement. The only downside, 4K. That's it. That's it. 4K. And 4K is awesome, but on a sample and hold display, you move the camera and it goes from 4K to 300p. So that's crap. You have to use black frame insertion. On SDR, with this LG C1, you cannot, in most games, you cannot use black frame insertion on SDR. You cannot. And on HDR, you have to use dynamic tone mapping, and then that's not HDR anymore. So motion resolution, OLED all day long. Colors, plasma all day long. Colors, plasma all day long. That's it. The OLED, better input lag, better dynamic range, of course better resolution, and that HDR that looks amazing. That's it. That's my, you see, for example, that sun, oh man, that's popping. It is great, amazing. Like when you see that, it wows you. Like this kind of things, it looks very, very good because you go here, and it is not super dark, but it is dark. It is not burning my eyes. When I go to the darkness, I can see everything and it doesn't burn my eyes. And then that's why the sun can cause that effect. But colors are good. The plasma colors are better. The white point is better. Motion resolution is better. And that's crazy. Why they stopped making the plasma? I'm sure they are less profitable. They have gold inside. The plasma TVs, they have gold, like real, precious metals. They are very expensive to do. I'm sure technology is also all about profit. To make profit. Plasmas are not good. They are very heavy, very expensive to manufacture, and yeah.